Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Job Search Reality Series. I'm Philip Todd Brooks, also known as Todd Brooks from Athens, Georgia. Today is day 23 of 31 days of Job Search Reality, and today I want to talk about one of the most frustrating experiences in the entire job search process, the silence after an interview. You had the interview, you thought it went well, maybe you connected with the hiring manager, maybe they seemed impressed with your experience, and before you left, they told you something like, we should have a decision by Friday. So Friday comes, and then you hear nothing. Then the weekend passes. Monday comes, and still nothing. And now you start checking your email constantly. You check your spam folder just to make sure you didn't miss something. Every time your phone rings from a number you don't recognize, you wonder if it's them. And eventually, you start asking yourself, did I do something wrong? Welcome to employer ghosting. And unfortunately, I think a lot of job seekers have experienced it. I know I have multiple times. But the first thing I want you to remember is this. Silence does not automatically mean rejection. Now, sometimes it does. Sometimes the employer has selected another candidate and simply hasn't communicated that decision yet. But there are also plenty of other reasons why the hiring process can suddenly slow down. Maybe another candidate's interview had to be rescheduled. Maybe the hiring manager is out of the office. Maybe they're waiting for approval from someone higher up in the company. Maybe the budget changed. Maybe the position itself changed. Or maybe the hiring process is simply taking longer than they originally expected. That's why I don't think you should immediately assume the worst just because the deadline they gave you has passed. But that brings us to another question. When should you follow up? If the employer gave you a specific timeline and that timeline has passed, I think it's completely reasonable to send a professional follow-up. And it doesn't need to be complicated. You should simply say, thank you again for the opportunity to interview for the position. I remain very interested in the role and wanted to see if there have been any updates regarding the hiring process. That's it. You don't need to write 5 paragraphs. You don't need to apologize for contacting them. And you definitely don't need to send them another message every single day. One professional follow-up can remind them that you're still interested without becoming overly persistent. But here's what I think may be the most important advice in today's episode. Do not put your entire job search on hold because one interview went well. I know how tempting that can be. You leave an interview thinking, that's the one. So you just stop applying altogether. You stop looking. You start mentally planning around this new job that you haven't actually been offered yet. And then every day that passes without an answer becomes more stressful. Don't do that to yourself. Until you have an actual job offer that you're prepared to accept, keep searching. Keep applying. Keep interviewing. Keep networking. Keep creating opportunities. Because even an incredible interview doesn't guarantee an offer. You may have interviewed extremely well and still lose the position to another candidate. Maybe you had more experience. Maybe they had a particular skill the employer needed. Maybe they were already working inside the company. That happens more often than you would think. Or maybe the employer simply felt they were a slightly better fit. That doesn't necessarily mean you did anything wrong. And I think that's especially important when you've been ghosted. Don't allow the employer's silence to make you rewrite the entire interview in your head. You walked out thinking it went great. 3 days later, you still haven't heard anything, so now you're thinking, maybe they hated me. Maybe that answer I gave was terrible. Maybe I completely blew the interview. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you actually did very well. The truth is, unless the employer gives you feedback, you may never know exactly why they made their decision. Take whatever lessons you can from the experience, but protect your confidence. And I also think employers have some responsibility in this conversation. Professionalism should work both ways. Candidates invest real time in the hiring process. They research the company. They update their resumes. They prepare for interviews. Some candidates take time away from their current jobs. Some travel to interviews. Some complete assessments. And some go through 2, 3, or even 4 rounds of interviews. If an employer decides to move forward with somebody else, I think the candidate deserves basic communication. It doesn't have to be a personal phone call. It doesn't have to be a detailed explanation. Even a short email saying, "Thank you for your time. We've decided to move forward with another candidate." At least gives the person closure. Simply disappearing after someone has invested significant time in your hiring process isn't a great candidate experience. And job seekers remember those experiences. So if you're currently waiting to hear back from an employer, that's what I want you to remember. Be patient, stay professional, follow up when it's appropriate, but keep moving forward. Don't allow one employer's silence to stop your momentum, because your next opportunity may come from an application that you haven't even submitted yet. And that brings me to today's biggest takeaway. Until you have an offer, keep creating options. Your job search belongs to you. One employer may call tomorrow, another may never call at all. But your responsibility is to continue putting yourself in a position where opportunities can happen. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been ghosted by an employer after an interview? How long did you wait before following up? And if you're a recruiter or hiring manager, I'd especially like to hear your perspective. What do you think employers owe candidates when they decide not to move forward? Leave your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you're enjoying 31 Days of Job Search Reality, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'm Philip Todd Brooks, also known as Todd Brooks from Athens, Georgia. And remember, don't let one employer's silence put your entire job search on hold. Real job search, real solutions, real you. Thanks for watching the Job Search Reality series, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 24.